Everybody. So thank you for joining me on this marvelous Monday evening. I am so glad you're here. It's a pleasure to come on here, guys, and share this stage and this forum with all of you. So I am very gracious for every single one of you that comes along and joins and partakes and participates in the show. So all the gratitude in the world, everybody. Thank you so much. So before we start jumping into this evening's guest, let's go ahead and cover a lot of the particulars like I always do. Let's get those out of the way. So if this is your first time watching the show, we are streaming live on multiple platforms. So you can catch us on our YouTube channel, and that is at Made from Scratch Broadcast there. So now we've actually customized our channel because we got over 100 subscribers. Awesome. So if you go type in www.youtube.com/C/ Made from Scratch Broadcast, it'll take you to our page. You can go find a lot of our past episodes. Do us a favor while you're there, hit the like and subscribe button. We are trying to build our viewership as always, and you can also hit the notification button. It'll let you know whenever we do go live and whenever we do upload new content. So thank you guys if you're checking it out on YouTube. You can also drop in comments there, and we'll pull them up in the screen and interact with those as well. We are streaming to our Facebook page of the same name at Made from Scratch Broadcast. So do us a favor if you're there, hit the like button, follow our page. We also have a group that we can be invited into. So we're building up our Facebook page as well. You can also follow us along on Twitter. We are there at MFSB Live on Twitter via Periscope is where we're streaming right now. And then on top of that, guys, we are streaming live on LinkedIn. So if you're watching on LinkedIn, you can connect with me. Send me a direct message to connect, Gabriel E. Leo on LinkedIn. And again, we are streaming live on LinkedIn. And then, of course, we do stream live to our website. So if you go there as well, we do stream there. It is at www.madefromscratchpodcast.com. You can check out our past episodes. You can check out the links to our podcast, which we do turn this into a podcast form, so you can listen to it as well as watch it if you want to. Either way, whichever is most convenient for you, we do put it out there. And then we do have an internet radio station where I do upload that, and eventually I'm going to start streaming a live audio feed of the show to the internet radio station. So I got a lot of things going on in the background, so that's why I'm as far as getting the word out and getting how I'm sharing this forum and this with everybody. So let's go ahead and jump into this evening's guest. So guys, she has her own company where she helps entrepreneurs and businesses build market strategies, and she also has her own podcast, which is pretty awesome as well. If you have not checked her out, she is the host of the Connect the Dots podcast. Awesome podcast. She's got like 71 episodes. So she really puts in the work, and she's been hustling for a very long time. And she's also a fellow pirate, which is where I first met her, in that wonderful community of people that we connected through the Russ John's pirate broadcast. So, once I started doing this, and I kind of wanted to target her, and she's already been a 2-time guest on his show, so she's going to be a first-time guest on mine. So, guys, do me a favor and welcome Vicki O'Neill to the show. Hey, Vicki.
Hey, Gabriel. How are you?
How are you doing? I'm doing great. So we've already got people already saying hello. So
hey, Lori.
Has Miss Lori there. She's a former guest as well on the show, so love that. David Mumford's watching on LinkedIn, so we got people already connecting along. So this has been fun because I've interacted with you, of course, plenty of times via Russ's show. So I've actually had Russ on as well, which was fun. And you always have very thoughtful, insightful things to say, to share. So that's kind of like what was one of the things that first interested me, because I do love people who can go on some of these live shows like this and they engage and they interact and they bring really something to the table. So they add a lot to what's going on. So you do that a lot, which is how I kind of got myself started as well when I first started on LinkedIn. So, you know, let's talk about how you actually got started doing um, your journey into. Well, first of all, let me get people to kind of get familiar with you. So I kind of laid it out a little bit, but if you want to go a little bit more in detail about um, who you are and actually how you got started with your own business, let's talk about that.
Okay. Yeah, I actually got started in the corporate world. So I've had lots of years of experience in both marketing and sales in the corporate environment. Anything from big corporations to smaller startup type companies. They're already established, but hired me to help establish their brand in a particular geography. So those were more of the sales roles. And I went back into the corporate world because I wanted something a little bit more consistent and also wanted to gain some sales management experience. So that was my last corporate job. And unfortunately, I was let go from that job.
Oh,
You're good to see.
yeah. Oh,
See my cats here. It's
that's okay.
Um,
That's
so
awesome.
yeah. So I worked at this company for about a year and a half, and then we had started a new team. It was an inside sales team, and the company was acquired. Didn't like the business model. I was the last in, so I was the first out.
Oh,
And I
wow.
had been established, or I'd already thought that I wanted to go ahead and go full time into my business. I'd started it officially in 2011, just kind of like we all do as a side hustle, just
Yeah.
working projects or whatever. Eventually, I wanted to be full time in it anyway. And I'd just been signs and just things that just kept popping into my head. I'm like, you know what? I need to set a goal of when I'm going to go into that full time. And when I got let go from that job, it was March of 2018. And I knew that it was coming. So I knew that that was like an opportunity. And I knew that I wasn't getting any younger.
Yeah.
So this is
Right.
a thing of why not just do it now? So I decided to go 100% in 2018. And when I did that, I was focusing on marketing and sales. So I know from experience in working in these corporate environments that marketing and sales teams are not usually aligned.
Yeah.
And with my experience with marketing and sales jobs, I thought, hey, this is a great opportunity to go in and help like mid-sized companies better align their marketing and sales initiatives.
Yeah.
So that's what I went in first, was from that approach. And
Yeah.
that's why I started the Connect the Dots podcast as just an audio form of helping people who didn't want to reach out directly, but maybe I could provide some helpful tips to them indirectly, and then ultimately kind of lead them down that path of contacting me. So I started it as a way to connect the dots between marketing and sales.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: when you got let go and you wanted to start doing this on your own and approaching clients, um, did you have a different approach as far as knowing that, okay, I don't have a job, but I know I have to go out here and snag these clients? Did you approach it were you more fierce, or were you a little bit more nervous and scared, not knowing that, okay, what's going to happen, what's all these sort of things? Because these are one of the things that I always like to ask or talk about whenever you ask entrepreneurs to go out and take that first step is
Mhm.
is the fear factor of succeed or fail. So
Yeah.
how did you approach it whenever you first went out there on your own?
Well, I knew it was coming. So I knew
Yeah.
that, and it was a decision that I had made.
Yeah.
So to be honest with you, I think it was a combination of both. It really just depended on the amount of effort that I put in. And, a lot of times you do a lot of work and you do a
Yeah.
lot of due diligence, but then you don't see the result. So, that's just part of the frustration of, starting your own company or going out on your own and just not knowing what to expect. But at the same time, you have bills to pay. So
Yeah.
just me, and my youngest daughter at the time was a senior in high school, so she was still living at home. So I still had, obligations. There were no other choices. So it was just a matter of just digging in and making it happen. But there were definitely, ups and down days. There were days where I was,
Yeah.
what am I doing? And I actually would apply for jobs because I'm like, I need to get, I need a consistent paycheck. And then I was like, no, I can do that. So it was just that whole back and forth of, I don't know what the right answer is, but let's just keep working both ends of the spectrum and see what happens.
Yeah, because that's uncertainty is always it's either something that's going to bring you down or it's going to be a real motivating factor
Yeah.
uh, along in your journey. Because again, the reason I ask is these are things that I'm thinking as well, because I know at some point I want to make that jump um, away from working a steady where I want to actually apply what I'm doing here, things that I'm learning, and that sort of thing, and then go out there and start finding these markets and finding these companies, these niches, these clients who want
Mhm.
to, who I'll be able to maybe help service or grow or develop as far as, you know, uh, video marketing. I mean, I don't know exactly what to call it because it's going to be different. Because what I love to delve into and talk about is live streaming, um, because it's a different approach. All the work where, let's say, when you create native video and you upload it to say YouTube, a lot of the work is done on the back end, which is the editing, the music, and all the other stuff. Whereas live streaming, you put a lot of work in ahead of time so that once the product is done and finished, it comes across. You kind of don't have to go back and do a lot of work in the background because again, we were talking about this a little ahead of time.
Yeah.
You know, a 5 minute clip can take you 30 minutes to edit and put together. Where if I put in that same amount of time into doing this, once I'm done, I'm done. I essentially do a few click here, add, boom,
Yeah.
everything's out there now into the universe. And
Mhm.
so only thing that I do with some of my clips is I do repurpose some of my content, which I take some of the shows, I take tips or things that I think that are cool or touching and that sort of thing
Mhm.
can add value, and I pare it down, and then I put it out there, and of course, but that's me practicing my video editing skills. That's what I kind of use that for as well.
You're
And
also smart about your content because you should repurpose content in
yeah,
different ways and for different platforms. So you're actually maximizing the effort you've already put into it and looking for other opportunities to expand on that and let other people find out about your shows and about your skills.
yeah.
So it's
So
very smart.
yeah, so I've been doing that, and then I had a guest bring this up. I'm also journaling um, every single guest that I have on. So after every show, I do have a conversation with everybody. I do take notes and I write down things that I thought were interesting about our conversation. And I've been doing that since episode number 1. You're episode 55. So I've been doing this ever since the first
So
time.
many.
Yeah. So, um, and I had a guest on, and she saw me writing down notes off camera, and she goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Writing notes about what we're doing, what we just talked about."
Mhm.
And I kind of do it as my own personal. I was doing it for my own personal journey, things that I've been learning and that sort of thing. And she was going to kind of mention, "Well, you are a writer. Why don't you put that into a book?" So at some point, that's what I'm going to approach as well.
Yeah.
Having on 100, having on almost 100 different people. Well, it'll probably be about 75, 80 people that I would have had on by then. Um, but taking the best parts of what they're sharing with me and putting them in and integrating it into my journey and hoping that it'll add value to somebody. Somebody will find it and go, "These are things that we talked about." And but you do a live streaming show as well.
Yeah, I
You
just
know,
started about a month, or it's probably been about 5 weeks.
so how's that experience been for you? I mean, it's I know you've been on a few shows before and that sort of thing. So,
Mhm.
but how's it been where you're controlling everything and doing that behind the scenes sort of stuff?
Well, I'm doing it the simplest way possible. So I don't have all of the gadgets and fun stuff that you have set up. Like I haven't gotten that creative yet. And I do have StreamYard on my radar. Like that
Yeah,
is the place that I want to go. But because I'm not having guests, there's not really a need for me to do that at this point.
yeah,
I would like to be able to share my screen. That would be something I would love to do. Because right now it's just me. And
yeah,
you can get other interactive type things in the view as well. So, I mean, it was just, we were talking about Pat Flynn,
yeah, and
and
yes,
watching him, he's the person that I heard about podcasting through. And
yes. So
so
same.
I attended his webinar and went through his whole process. And that's how I got set up on with podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw him doing these live streams, I'm like, I'm going to do this too. And then just hearing his stories, it's helpful to hear other people's stories about, how they struggled. And it was interesting because he has, I think it's like 355,000 subscribers or something.
Yes.
He has anywhere, there's a lot of people that come and go throughout that hour that he has his live sessions every day. But a lot of times by the end, you've got like, 200, he's had up to 300 people viewing at one time. And the chat is just nonstop.
Insane. Yeah. It's pretty.
Insane. So he's got quite an audience, and for him to share the information and the value and just his stories and the fact that he still gets nervous, like even before he goes live every single morning at 11 a.m. my time, he's just like, I get butterflies. And so for me, that's helpful for me to hear, to be like, okay, this is normal, because I've only gone live by myself like 5 times or something. So I've got nowhere near the experience of you or Russ or Pat. And I think it's just the point of just deciding that you're going to do it and just do it.
Yeah.
I think the first time I went live, might have been like on a Thursday at like 10. Like I gave no thought to it because I'm like, I just need to press go.
Yeah. Yes. And that's essentially how you, So that's essentially how you take the first step. It's just you turn it on and you go. So that's essentially what I did my first time.
Yeah.
Same sort of deal. I set a table up in the garage, turned the light on, boom, let's go. I put it out there. And then after a while, you'll start, because you've done podcasts. So I think the transition for you will be pretty easy once you start getting a little bit more acclimated to all the technical stuff. That's the biggest intimidating factor for some folks.
It's not the technical, because I'm pretty good with the technology, just like we were talking about with, editing videos and, the audio and stuff. Like I can do it. I'm not afraid of learning because I'm obviously not a video editor, but I'm not afraid to figure out how to make things happen. And I just know that if I want to do a, dissolve in, that it's not going to be exactly how I want it to be, but it's the fact that I did it and it's still happening. And then I'll learn and make it better each time.
Yeah.
So it's not the technology for me. It's the fact that I noticed today I've got 50 subscribers now on YouTube.
Awesome.
So, but it's 50 subscribers. It's like, to go live, I'm lucky if one person shows up. For me, the nervous part of it is that I'm talking to no one live. And I feel so stupid.
Well, here's the thing, like even now, here I am 55 episodes done, going on now. Even those shows, there's days where you just don't have an audience. But again, it's about the fact that, am I doing this for the audience or am I doing some of this for me? So both. So for me, I still get joy out of it. So I can go on here and talk for an hour and I don't care if nobody's watching. As long as I can bring what I want to talk about, what my message is across, and share that sort of thing. When I'm done, I'm satisfied, and it's in a can. And I go again tomorrow. I got another opportunity. Here comes another day. Let's go again. And it's grueling some days. I'm not gonna lie. To do this every single day, because again, there's days that you just know you don't have it. You get up and you go, oh, this is not going to be the day. Nothing works. You have, there's so many factors that can kind of like crush what you want to do technically or creatively, because there's certain things that go on like in the background that you don't tell everybody about. But, I've had technical problems before where my internet's about to cut out and I'm going, oh my gosh, what do we do? So
the thing is that people who attend lives, they understand that though.
Yeah. And again,
like when Russ goes live at 10 a.m., my time.
Yeah.
He's not live at 10 o'clock or 10:02 or 10. I'm like, you know what? He's probably having technical difficulties, or the person on the other end is. So it's just like, I think everybody's just very forgiving.
Yeah.
And I understand that. But for me, it's just like, I'm talking to no one. my mind is like, okay, I'm recording it. And anybody who's interested in this, I just have to make sure that the title and the description and the keywords and the tags and the image, it's like, I'm just thinking through like the after effect. It's like,
Yes.
okay, I can still make this workable. And what I'm delivering is value. It may not be to a live audience, but I'll get to that at some point.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, it still does. It's still useful. You can always repurpose it. You can always rebuild it. You can always, even on YouTube, you can rebrand it, retitle it, whatever,
Yes.
and put it back on there as a native video, and somebody will start watching it and go, wow. When I went live with this, nobody was watching, but when I put it back out there and repurpose it and you put it back out there, I have 20 people already liking it and that sort of thing. So yeah. It serves its purpose because, again, like I said, I've had shows where I go live and I have maybe like 5-6 people at any one point. The analytics tell me after about I do an hour show, so here's the problem. After the analytics tell me after about the first 15 minutes, a lot of people go, they're gone.
Yeah.
I have other groups that come in between there who might be here for 5-10 minutes and then they're gone. And then I have a few people who come in and catch it on the back end. And but nothing is ever consistent where it's like, hey, your whole watch time, it just looks like a hills and valleys the whole time that you look at it and you go, okay, but still, it doesn't matter. I know that I'm going to be on there for a whole hour.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talk and when I share with everybody, I go back and I look sometimes afterwards, like you're talking about, and I'll see that there's like 19 views of it. 20 views of it. And I go, where are you at when I want it live, right? So, and again, because I feel sometimes that I hope I don't let the guest down because I said I want to, when I bring the guest on, I want to be able to share what they're bringing and what they're sharing to the message, and what they want to talk about, and hopefully somebody will find it and it'll resonate with somebody. And that's what I've been telling everybody. You know what? It doesn't matter if they do it live or they catch it 2 days later, as long as it makes some kind of impact. That's what I'm satisfied with. So
yeah, it's all about just becoming. I'm a huge fan of becoming uncomfortable. So when you know that you're creating discomfort for yourself in trying something new, that's when you know that you're growing and you've tried, you're expanding not just your skills, but you're expanding how you can represent yourself too. And for us being online, it's important for us to, figure out the new avenues and to understand the different technologies and understand what options are available. And, maybe it doesn't make sense for me to have a live show.
Yeah.
I don't know that yet. And at some point, just because I've started it, if I end up not getting any like live views, then it's kind of like, all right, is this really something I should be doing? Or do I need to test different days and times?
Yeah.
Or different titles or different, so it really is just, it's almost like a game. You just kind of have to figure it out and see what pieces work and see, how you can put the puzzle together and just move forward.
I mean, and I've even come to that point where, again, I always try to reevaluate. So I set stages where I start reevaluating points. So for me, it was the first month. Then I reevaluated. Then I just did 50. So I reevaluated again and start looking at different things, what can I add, or am I doing certain things right? And then at 75, I'll reevaluate, and then 100, I'll do it all over again, and I'll look and see where I'm at that point and figure out maybe it's best if I do a live at that point 1 or 2 times a day, because to continue to do it, you would hope to some point start building some kind of traction, that sort of thing. So I am doing it, but it's I just always check myself at some point and say, is this what I'm bringing? Is it what I'm sharing? Is it what people want to hear? And do I need to do it? Maybe I need to do it and record it and then put it out here. I don't know. I just always look at it. I love live streaming just because, again, I don't have to go through the editing process. This is why I love doing this part of it, because it makes it simpler and easier. That's what I tell everybody.
Yeah.
If you're going to do live, guess what? When you're done, you don't have to, go back and do certain things to it, you're done with it.
Yeah. I think
and
people are more forgiving of that too versus a video that you've pre-recorded, you've done the editing. Maybe there's more, bells and whistles or, different types of technologies and graphics and everything else that you've incorporated into it. But, when it comes down to it, did you get the value out? And did
yeah,
you get the message across? Are
and
they receiving the value that you intended? Then is it really a pre-recorded or live video that really matters? And
yeah,
that's probably something that'll happen along the process with the analytics. And you're probably already starting to see that since
oh
you've got
yeah,
5 lives already.
yeah. So you pay attention to these things and you start looking at it. So even one of the things that I've even, um, again, always reevaluate, just thinking ideas outside the box. What can I do to not, again, like you said, not feel comfortable? So I
Mhm.
always look at certain things. What can I do? What are these some of the things? Like like last week, I just technically directed a show. I had a guest host on. It was Wendy Gahulia
Yeah.
was the host, and then I had Kristen A. Sherry on, and she interviewed her and that sort of thing. And I kind of just was in the background, that sort of thing. So
Your show, but you were
yeah,
like one, oh, that is so cool. I've never thought about doing that. That's
so
awesome.
it was my show, but it
Yeah.
was, and it even set it up. I even set it up where it could broadcast on one of her Facebook channels or for her Facebook page. So she was streaming live on her page. I was doing everything behind the scenes, put everything out there. And I have another one coming up this week. So this is the things that I'm doing to kind of, again, I just testing things. Even I've even thought about doing weekly segments with a certain guest every week. So
Mhm.
if I wanted to do, let's say, business or let's say marketing, hey, every Thursday I'm gonna have so and so on. Vicki O'Neill be on Thursday night with 15 minutes
Mhm.
towards the end of the show, just a committed sort of thing, and then we talk about whatever you want to talk about and that sort of thing. And again, these are all just ideas to throw out there.
What you're doing too is really cool. It's almost like you've taken that whole. Do you remember when people on Snapchat? I think they've done it on Instagram too, where they do the takeover, like an
Yep.
account takeover,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like what you're being proactive with in
Yeah.
that regards. Is that Wendy took over your channel to so really you could create a lot of collaborations
Yeah. So that's another thing, right?
with that because you've already got it set up. So you're making it super easy for people while you've got your branding in the background and you're making that happen. So that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, so I have another one coming on actually Wednesday. So Megan Rajan is her name, and she's going to be co-hosting my show. I mean, she's going to be guest hosting the show, and she's
Nice.
going to have a guest on, do the interviewing. I'm just going to be technically in the background. Um, we got channels to communicate where I don't even have to be on there.
Mhm.
I'll do all the production stuff ahead of time, and then we'll go from there. And
That's cool.
um, yeah, and again, and I told her. She's one of those who's not really too technically savvy. So I told her, well, if you want a channel that I can dedicate it to, it's pretty simple. Just I can connect the destination on there. You give me an admin permission, and then we stream it to your channel, and then there it is. And then you can always remove me once everything's done. So
Mhm.
there's always things to be playful with and creative and do different things. That's why I said at one point I want to start even integrating live phone calls. Into the show. So if I have a guest on,
That'd be cool.
and
People call in.
yeah, and have a dedicated number, I have the technology to do it right already. So,
You just
um,
be the next Gary V.
and just go, hey, somebody, yeah, but I don't have teams of, I don't have teams of 10 people at
He's
10.
doing that. You've probably seen it though too, where he's got a cell phone number. It's just like text me in your question, and then I'll bring you on. And I'm like, oh my god, like he is non. Yeah, he's got teams of people behind the scenes,
Oh
but
yeah, he's got
I
at
saw his
least,
brain moving that fast.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy.
yeah, so I've even thought about that as well. And
Mhm.
again, you can actually do this with StreamYard if you wanted to do that. Hey guys, come on here, let's talk. Somebody gets on there, you bring them on through the comments and say, okay, here's the link. You send them the link, they click it in, boom, we're here. We are. You're on
Mhm.
live. Let's start talking.
Yeah.
Um, so there's so many different things, so much fun that you can have um, with live streaming. Again, but I still love the form as well of podcasting. That's why I still do a separate podcast because there's an art to doing that as well. Um,
Yeah. That's completely different.
It's a whole nother ball game if you have not um, messed with a podcast.
For me, that's actually easier though, because I just use Audacity. So
Yeah,
it's super easy to edit in there, and you don't have to worry about the image, blending the images and having to match up to make it look like there's not been any cutting. So I actually prefer editing audio. I have no problem with that. That's super easy.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
There are even now, but I've even found different ways to try to get a whenever you say you have a guest on, right?
Mhm.
Most of the times, depending on what they use, like if you're using Audacity, there's GarageBand. I even found there's one called Clean Feed, which is an HD stream for just audio mostly.
Mhm.
Um, so if somebody were to call in, it sounds like they're like right there in the studio with you. So
Oh,
it creates a really, and again, you do the same thing. You just record the audio there. You can upload it to Audacity. You can essentially edit it from there, and then
mhm.
boom, it does a lot of the work. And again, um, you can preset a lot of things. So if you have like your again, I like to do the preset up a lot of the time. So I have like my opener, my closer
Yeah.
already preset in there. So when we go say, hey, I'm fixing to go start recording, this is where we're going to hit. I start playing the sounder, boom, it's in there. Whenever we're done with the show, I hit the ender, boom. So I don't have to go back and do the editing on that
Yeah.
afterwards. Because I know some people that do that. And then I go, oh, no.
I haven't found like an intro and an outro that I like so much that I have to, I have to keep it. Now, if I did, I'd just go ahead and do that too. But it's just, I haven't, and I don't have any music with mine either.
Yeah.
So I'm just, every time it's different. Like until I can find one, I'm like, wow, that was awesome. Now I'll be like,
Right.
haven't found it yet.
You stick with it and
Yeah.
you just go. So,
72 episodes in, I still haven't found it.
so hopefully by 100 she might have something. I don't know. So like the podcast, right? How did you start putting all that together? I know after you said back in 2018 you wanted to do it as a reach out to people who didn't want to connectly with you, but you put that information out there. So how did you put all it together and say, hey, I just want to start doing a podcast? So how did that journey begin? Because again, all that stuff you have to learn pretty much from scratch.
Mhm.
You don't know too much about it.
Yeah, there was actually a business partner of mine that used to live up here, and he moved to, I think at the time he was in North Carolina, and I had talked to him about doing it and being co-hosts, and he was just like, "Yeah, that sounds like fun," and he wanted to have like a plan, which I'm all about plans, but it was let's have a script and let's do this, and it was just so much planning and details.
Oh,
We didn't know what we didn't know.
yeah.
So it's like, why don't we start with the high level structure and then let's solidify it as we go along. And he kind of got stuck in that analysis paralysis mode where it was just, he didn't know. And I'm like, I can't do this. I'm just like, that's okay. It's fine. And, he kind of fell off the radar. And I was just like, all right, I can do this by myself. I didn't want to. I wanted to have a co host. But I told the story at one point, and people thought it was pretty cool. So that was in 2018 and Christmas of 2018. Something cool that I do with my daughters is the tags that I put on their gifts. I'll put, instead of like to Kayla from mom, I would put to, UC grad, University of Cincinnati graduate,
Ah,
from the 25-year plan, because it took me forever to get my degree. So
yeah.
I would do something fun like that on their tags. So I had put on both my daughter's tags. I was just like something. I was just like from future podcaster. So for me, that was the commitment.
Yeah.
And I'd written it down. Two, I said it to my daughters. And if I say something to my daughters, it's happening.
Yeah. You put it out in the universe. It was too late.
So yeah, and they're just like, "What you're gonna start a podcast?" And I'm like, "Yes." I'm like, "Crap, what did I just say?" But that point, I had to commit to it, and I wanted to start, at the beginning of the year. So I'd watched Pat Flynn's, I attended one of his webinars,
Yeah.
and I learned that you had to, he had mentioned like the best thing at that time. He had said you should have like 3 episodes recorded, before you approach Apple and try and get everything uploaded there. Different types. So I'm like, crap, what am I going to talk? All of a sudden it was just like, like my mind went blank. Like, what am I going to talk about? And I'm like, I've been in business for over 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to talk about. So I did come up with a plan for like the first 10 episodes, at least topics. And then I did for the very first ones, I was like actually typing scripts. So I'm like, well, no one's going to see me. So they're not going to see that I'm actually reading a script. I'll just try and make it sound good, make it sound good. So I did. I recorded them, like verbatim. And I just, I uploaded them then and actually went live. I think the first episode was actually December of 2018, but I just tell people it was January 2019.
Yeah.
So I committed to 1 a week. So I've been doing 1 a week ever since then.
Wow.
I think I did a couple. I think I wanted to get like 52 in last year. So I think I missed the first couple of weeks, like when I went for the very first one, second one, whatever it was. So I knew I had to get in a couple extra episodes in there. So I wanted to make sure I had 52.
Right.
Yeah. So then ever since then, I've just committed to always having it released on Tuesdays, and I make it happen. That's a routine.
Awesome.
It's what happens.
And then once you get the routine down, it's pretty, at that point, you kind of already know in the head how you want everything planned out, how you put everything together, and you go, okay, I'm ready to go. So it's essentially the same process with what I'm doing here.
Yeah. I did learn though, because, a lot of people will do show notes.
Yeah.
Show notes, which is essentially like a blog post.
Mm-hmm.
There's varying degrees of that. Like it could be very simple. And if you have a guest, it would just be like, Vicki O'Neill, here's her website, here's how you can connect with her. And then that's it.
Yeah.
And then there were some things like what I was doing was I was going overboard. So I was just like, notes, and here's what you can expect. I was pretty much doing everything except for putting the timestamps in there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my, this is so much work.
It is.
So I actually asked people, I think it might've been on a LinkedIn post, and said, how many people actually read or go to show notes? And it was like maybe 1 person out of 50 said that they actually read show notes. I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like, this is way too much time for me to be spending on something that nobody's even reading. So now my show notes are just like links that I mentioned in the episode, or I'll do like a summary.
Yeah.
And I'll include links. And if there's any downloadable documents, I'll include those there too. But it's like, that was a huge time saver for me.
Yeah. Because again, if you go, same sort of deal. I used to go real in-depth, pulling bios, pulling all kinds of in-depth stuff.
Yeah.
And
that for a guest. I mean, it wouldn't, but I just don't all the notes. I'll include all of your information.
So, well, I would go real deep. I would go watch past podcast episodes. I would pull all this kind of information. And then at the end, I would find out, well, our conversation went a whole different way. I really didn't use a lot of this. So, oh, crap. So, at that point, that's when I said, you know what, I do come up with, no matter the guest, I come up with 10 pretty standardized questions. And sometimes I will use as guiders whenever I know I have a guest who maybe is a little bit uptight or not as open. They haven't done as many of these things. Mm-hmm. And I'll use those as a guide. Hey, let's start on question 1. We'll go through question 10, that sort of thing. And then I can tell the veterans who've been doing it for a while, who've been on a couple, turn on the camera, talk, bam, we're gone. I did that with Brian Schulman for 2 hours. So we didn't have a script. We didn't go. We just went. So same thing with Russ. I didn't, because Russ is 150 episodes in. How am I going to tell him, hey, let's do a.
No, I'm good. No,
a standardized trick thing. It was like, let's turn on a camera. We know how to talk, and let's have a conversation. And that's what we did.
And I've had podcast guests where it was their very first podcast. So they were super nervous. Where I'm just like, I completely understand that.
I get it.
So they preferred having like actual questions. And I'm
Yes,
like, okay, that trips me up because I'm so worried because it's about them, right?
it is. It is. It's all
So
about them.
then I get worried that I want to ask a follow-up question to something that they just answered, but I'm like, oh my gosh, is that going to throw them off? Like, should I, or should I just stay to the script, the scripted questions? So for me, I don't like it. It's not my preference because I don't feel like I can go with the flow of where the conversation's going. If someone wants to have an understanding of what to expect in the conversation, it's like, let's just talk about these 3 or 4 topics and then just
Mhm.
go from there. So I learned that people who are open to that type of format, just to let them know, say, if I ask a question and you go in this direction, then I'm going to ask a question based on the conversation and how it flows, not
Yeah.
necessarily, we may not even hit, kind of like what you had said, we may not hit, these questions, but at least giving them an understanding of setting expectations of here's how it could go based on, other conversations. And
Yes.
I've never had a problem with anybody, even like first time podcasters. Like if you went through and listened to all of my podcast guests, you would not be able to pick out which ones it was their first time. They were really good. Like they were good. And
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where I'm sort of at a disadvantage doing video, because if they're nervous, if they're it can come across, you can read a person's face.
Yeah.
So I kind of try to tell them, hey, look, if they're nervous beforehand, that's why I kind of have a few conversations with them before we go live. I say, look, if you start feeling nervous, um, just follow my lead. Once we get back the first 10, 15 minutes and I can get you to open up, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You won't, you'll start talking about yourself. You won't even think about it. You'll go
Mhm.
into the conversation. And then
Yeah.
from there, we'll get into the depth of what you want to talk about. But it's getting those first timers that are always, you have to draw those people out a little bit. And I understand it because, again, if they've never been on camera
Mhm.
and it's their first time, I can pretty sure they have, their heart is racing 1,000 beats a minute. They got
Yeah.
butterflies on their stuff. Even I still get butterflies going live, especially when I
Yeah.
got a guest who I really want to talk to.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I get nervous, and then I got to get ready. Let's go, come on.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
amp myself up, and then let's go. Let's hit it. So,
Yeah. I had one of my first time guests. We actually did video. So I would always leave that option open. Like we could just do audio or we could do video and audio, and then we can leverage the video, for other purposes. So a lot of times they would say they wanted to do both, which I was like, cool, this is awesome. One person in particular comes to mind saying she just didn't like doing video anyway. So I was just like, that's cool. But one of my guests, she was awesome. It was Ella Orr. She's with crap, and I can't remember the name of something more social.
yeah,
Anyway, it was her first time being on a podcast, and she told me ahead of time, she's like, Vicki, I am so nervous. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Like there were other people, and she's in the UK. So
yeah,
there were other people that we were all acquainted where they were just like, don't worry about it. Vicki makes you feel totally at ease. You're going to be totally fine. So we just made it a conversation, and she ended up singing. She's a great singer, and she was just like, she had said something like she could sing, and I'm like, all right, well, go ahead. I need to hear some notes now. And she broke out into song.
awesome.
And I
Those
was
are
like, oh my God, that was so awesome. I'm like, Ella, you're the very first person ever seen on my podcast.
that's
So we kind of sing with her now of like, not only was it your first podcast, but you also sang on the podcast.
yes,
It
that's
was pretty
awesome
cool.
when you get those. But this is what I love about doing this. Those unexpected moments like that.
Yeah.
That you don't know what to expect. Like I've had a couple of musicians perform a couple songs
That's,
live. Yeah, and these are very young, talented people who've been
mhm.
on stage, so you can tell that they got their presence. They're not worried about it. So we
Yeah.
come on there, and I get to stand in the background. I get to hear him perform. And I go, "This is awesome," because again, it's you don't know what to expect. So
Yeah.
whenever these things come on and people do these sort of things, I love it. This is why I tell everybody, this is the one thing about live streaming you're going to get that you're not going to get anywhere else. You get true, real, authentic emotion,
Mhm.
vulnerability, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
whenever somebody's on, and you can tell when somebody's really having a good time or whatever. But it's there.
Yeah.
And
you do a really good job too of hosting and just kind of keeping the conversation going, and sharing your stories that relate to the stories, and so you're really good. You're doing
yeah,
something that obviously comes natural to you.
well, I've always been able to have conversations. I just needed a camera. That's what my wife told me. She goes, "You could always talk." Yeah, she goes, "You could always talk. I could put you in a room with 100 people, and you would find what they're talking about and into their conversations interesting."
Mhm.
And I've always been able to do that. I just never thought doing it with a camera on. So,
Yeah.
but
You're in
again,
your you're in your lane now.
yeah, I'm in my lane now. And again, I love doing this. That's what I was telling you.
Yeah.
This is for me a real true passion that I get to get up and do, and which is what I'm pushing to, trying to find a way to make this the only thing that I do. So at some point it will be. I have confidence I will have be able to do this on a regular basis, and I think it stems from being young and always seeing my dad watch Johnny Carson.
Mm.
Um, he always used to watch Johnny Carson before he went to bed, always,
Mhm.
and always used to love the fact that what he was doing, having people on stage, talking, music, conversation, it was always felt like a good time.
Yeah.
So I said, "Wow!" And he gets paid millions of dollars to do this. Wow, what
I could do that.
I could do that, right? Yeah. So, um, but it is, now that I'm getting to do this and sitting behind a
Mhm.
microphone and a camera, and having these conversations, I see what the thrill is.
Yeah.
I see what the drive was. I see why they spent the time in doing the things that they did every
Mhm.
single day, because again, they probably felt the same way I did. I get up every morning. I had to do this every morning. I got to do this now. I'm pinching myself. I'm like, wow, I get to have. I mean, I'm even going to have a conversation with a former NFL player.
Mhm.
Um, so
Nice.
I never would have thought about that at
Yeah.
any point going on. I'm, but again, this is the avenue. Creating this and putting this out there gives you Carol Campos talks about this with her show. She says it gives you the avenue to go out and ask, at least, to go bring people on that you wouldn't even think that you would be able to talk to as a regular person. You've seen them on the TV screen or heard them on the radio, or all these things. So again,
Yeah,
it just gives you a reason to go. So
it does. I
especially
want
for,
to be the next Ellen DeGeneres.
yeah, why not?
Time, daytime, not nighttime.
But
And then also just giving stuff away. Like, I
yeah, right.
love how generous she is.
That's to me the two best things about her show that I always loved was the fact that she came out dancing every time to music. So it sets the vibe. You go out there and you're
Yeah.
like, man,
You
I
can
love.
help but smile and be in a great mood.
Who can't? Yeah, if you're sitting there with the sourpuss face while she's doing all that,
What's not
something's
wrong
wrong. Right?
with you? Seriously.
So and then and again, having the ability to give away these sort of things. And I
Yeah.
mean, now I even signed up a couple weeks ago when they were doing the All In Challenge. She was offering a opportunity to be a guest host on her show. So
Hmm.
I donated a couple times to try to. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know, but I said at least it's a chance. I mean, I would love to go on there and be like,
Yeah,
hi,
exactly.
you
I saw
know,
one today, and I don't know if it was the most recent one or not because they're recorded, and I just kind of go back and watch them when I can.
yeah.
Um, but I was watching one today, and she had scrolled names at the bottom of her screen. I'm like, what was that again? And I guess she had a certain time frame where she had asked people, like, if there's somebody that's going through a hardship right now
Oh
and you
wow.
can help them out, send me their name. So she had scrolled through like 100 names where she had deposited $250 into a
Oh
Venmo account for each one of those people. Like
wow.
a total surprise. Like they had no idea it was even coming. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's what I want to be able to do is like help people when they need help. Or there was somebody that she had on, I think it was last week, where he was a delivery person. I think he worked for UPS. And somebody had caught him on camera. Like he's very much a behind the scenes person. But
Yeah.
he ended up being on her show, and that's how I know that. His wife was saying that, like, he doesn't want to be. But he had seen a note on the door that the people had left saying that their daughter had some type of like breathing disorder, and just to be very careful. Well, he had gone back to the truck and got the cleaning solution and like cleaned everything off, and just made sure everything was super clean. And he happened to do that in front of the camera. And
wow.
so the person who had recorded that, sent that into Ellen and wanted to recognize him for being so kind and so careful about making sure that nothing was entering the house that could possibly hurt their child.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like those little acts of kindness go such a long way. And she loves that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I get teary-eyed whenever I see that kind of stuff. I'm like, no, people are just so nice. I'm like, that they deserve to have that kind of recognition, because we need to have more of that spreading.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
Yeah, and that goes back to this right here. So I got my, I don't know if you can see that. That's my Russ John shirt.
Yes.
Mine is cool. So, yeah. So again, I love the fact that people go out there and do these things, and they don't seek recognition. They don't do a lot of these things. So
this is the beauty of live.
Yes, this is why I do this live. So
yeah.
For people who've been watching the show, who already follow along, they know my dog comes with me whenever I go to my podcast.
Yeah.
And at certain points of the night, he's ready to go out, because I have my own shed, which I turned into my podcasting office now. So he comes in here with me. He chills out. We do our show and everything else. But when he's ready to get out, he's like, okay. He starts coming to talk to me. And so I've already had it happen like 3 episodes before already, where he just starts going. I mean, I got to go tell him, go sit down, buddy. Go sit down.
He's like, no.
No, he's not. So, I saw your cat on there earlier. I was like, oh, awesome. So
they know it's their eating time. This is they need to get their last like little bit of a treat at 8:30 at night. And I'm like, oh, how am I going to do that? I'm like, they're fine.
So, all right, Vicki. Before he starts going nuts, let me just tell everybody, thank you for following along. Kenneth Hunter, David Mulford, Mike Pastrano, thank you guys. Danny A. Shannon, Nick Reynolds, thank you guys. And of course, Lori Canucci for following along. Thank you guys. I always appreciate the support. Gosh.
Thank you for everybody joining. Gabriel, it's been great being here. Thank you so much for having me as one of your guests. I appreciate it.
No problem. And here we go. I said it's almost been an hour, and it goes by so fast.
It really does.
So 55 minutes and 24 seconds. So I tell them it's the fastest hour. I even know that you can. So
yes.
Thank you guys for joining me. I do appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow night. I don't know if I'll have a guest or not. I've had those happen where they have something pull out. So that's just the thing about doing live stream. If not, I'll be ready solo. So don't matter. So thank you guys again for joining me. You can check out Vicki O'Neill. Go to her website at www.vickio'neill.com, and you can find the links to her podcast, her services, her blog. There's so many things that she's got linked up there, guys. If you need any help with your business, marketing, she's the lady for you. I'll tell you what, she's a hustler, and she's got plenty of stuff out there with her podcasts. You can go back and listen to some of her tips. You can also catch her lives, which she does on Wednesdays now.
Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
12 p.m. Eastern time, guys. You can catch her going live. So thank you, Vicki, for coming on the show. I do appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure. And again, thank you, everybody who's been joining me. Guys, I'm so appreciative of all the help and support, and everybody just reaches out. So I had a great time this evening. Guys, I'll see you again. Yeah, thank you, Vicki. And yes, so I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. You know the drill, guys. We'll get through this all together. Practice your good social distancing. I know things are opening up, but again, guys, just please follow good moral restraints. I just saw a news story here in my area. They had almost like 400 people show up at a park And again, we're still not past any of this. And you know that people weren't social distancing. You know, people weren't doing all these things. And guys, just a little restraint. And
Mhm.
we'll get past this, because again, we're not. We're just going to go back to right where we were. And I think we all want to get past this. So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So guys, practice good social distancing. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Do all the good stuff. We'll
Mhm.
get safe. We'll get through this together. So thank you, Vicki, again.
All right.
And
Thank you again.
I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Y'all have a great one. Stay safe. Bye bye now.
Bye.